Okay, so today is March 6th, 2025, and I decided to have some kind of Q&A session in which, for any potential audience, I'm here to respond to the question. And I do believe that we need to stick to the regularity of running the sessions every week, no matter how much we are ready, no matter how many audience joins, that I do believe that the regularity of the weekly sessions or workshops is one of my commitment to the public best interest. So no matter of the number of audience, no matter of if I have several other errands in my mind that have made me super busy nowadays, I want to have some brief lecture or speech about self-regulation and its importance. And I do want to point out to the differences between self-regulation and emotion regulation and their relationship with each other, and also what comes after, as we call as self-directional behavior. So this lecture can be very useful for every practitioner or mom or dad. And I do believe that once we know and distinguish these terms from each other, we can have a better understanding about the situation of our children or client in an everyday life or practice. So, what we say about children, and let us say there has been a term that you are used to call as self-control, which is a very important term, self-control. If you just believe that self-control is like a kind of pyramid, that there are several fundamental skills or fundamental bricks that are one after another are going to be passed to get to the pinnacle of the pyramid. And that self-control pyramid is that the base of this self-control pyramid is, are we well equipped to survive or not? So it's about survival matter, yes? But there are, of course, some children that have issue or problem or concern in the pinnacle of the pyramid, which is about self-directional behavior. Like say, the parents that come to the clinic and ask us, I want my child to be independent at the school assignment, does not need several attempts, no time for reminding, and that the child learns how to manage his own task, organize his own task. And they are called self-directional behavior. So it's like kind of gradual moving from fundamental bricks of self-control, which are mostly survival-based, toward self-directional, which is the pinnacle of the pyramid. So I bring some example about each stage of this pyramid, and then we will realize how beautifully the creatures are designed. So step number one is about survival, as I mentioned. At the level of survival, the two main systems are working, sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. these two systems together make a balance. So sympathetic system is about speeding up the heart palpitation, the heart rhythm when it is getting faster, when we sweat, when our muscles get tensed, when we lose our appetite, when we are ready to run or fight or flight, when we are fully aware and let's say fully vigilant, and we are overly cautious as if we have watched some horror movie, as if we are ready just to run away. And even that sweating is related to some evolutionarily reason that living organisms, specifically mammals, used to sweat because once we sweat, our body gets a little slippery, and by lessening the friction, we can get rid of the predator. In fact, those sweat that cover all the surface of our body help us run away from the predator that is about to hunt us. Just imagine that someone just grasps our body, and since we have sweated a little, we can just, with a lessened friction, we have a higher chance of running away. So evolutionarily, there has been some benefit in sweating as well, besides other benefits like sweating that can help the controlling the temperature of the body as well. Um, but sympathetic system, which is in charge of fast heart pump, sweating, fast transactions of oxygen in order to get ready to run for long distances or fight, they are related to survival. And on the other hand, parasympathetic system is mostly related to maintaining energy, going into bed, sleeping, having food. And when we are fully agitated or concerned, or when our sympathetic system is fully activated, we cannot eat food, we cannot sleep well. And we need to have some parasympathetic system working effectively so that we can maintain energy and get back to the main track of a better mood or readiness is tomorrow. So you see that these two systems together has tried to make a kind of balance in our lifestyle and in our life skill. And that's why that the balance between these two has some survival benefits to us. The balance is that what we do. Um, Once the child gets now past this stage of balance, the next stage is that the child needs to have some, let's say, self-regulation. And in self-regulation, what we see is, let's say, biological clock in the body that we know when it is morning, when it is night, when it's time to wake up, when it's time to go to bed, when it's time to get hungry. How do I get hungry? What is my feeling, or what part of my body feels or gets squished when I'm hungry? What happens if I'm thirsty? And how can I address these needs? How can I have this instinctual tendency to get moving toward the source of water or some drink to just seize down the thirst? How can I detect my feeling as hunger, and how I know instinctually that in order to address my hunger, I should have food? So self-regulation in general is that the child needs to be able about homeostatic. So homeostatic is about the ability to make balance and to regain the balance. So if I am feeling this room's temperature is very hot, what can I do? What can I do? Do I do have a do am I going to make any change in the room temperature or changing the room or moving from the hot weather to cold weather to have a breathe or how do I address my need? Okay, so it's about self-regulation. Do I need to know about the name of that? Not necessarily. Do I not need to know about our feeling or emotions about the situation? No. We, what we need to know is to be independently able to regain the balance, and it is important. Regaining the balance help us having a better self-control and self-regulation. So you see, the second step of the pyramid is self-regulation. Yeah. So self-regulation is going to help the person or the children having a better self-control comparing to the child whose level is at the sympathetic parasympathetic system, which is mostly about survival thing. The child at the level of self-regulation is kind of having less troublesome moments. However, even these children have many issues. For example, these children might throw tantrum, might get upset, might burst into tears, might not be able to control their laughter. And more importantly, when we address their needs, they do not immediately stop that. For example, just imagine that a child who can't sleep, and when we give that child a blanket, a pillow, and a cozy place to sleep, still the child can't sleep. Even though the child need is sleeping, but his behavior and his action are far from getting ready to go to sleep, and the child has gotten agitated, as if almost every newborn babies, that many of the newborn that you see that might be considered as difficult children or newborn or toddler, they might struggle with the morning routine, sleeping routine, even though the family is the mother and father are fully sure that the child is hungry, the child refuses eating the thing, the child refuses drinking water, and once by any force of pressure, uh, finally the family just gives some food or water to their no to their mouth, to the mouth of the children. These children realize their feeling and say, okay, I want more. But just before that, they didn't know how to address that needs. That's why that they haven't been fully independent in maintaining the balance of homeostatic and having good self-regulation. The stage after self-regulation is called emotion regulation. And emotion regulation is very important term because in fact, the children with emotion regulation have should have this characteristic to identify their emotions, being able to recognize and attribute the relevant word or adjective or term of feeling to that emotion. So emotion is a natural thing. We might get frightened, we might get horrified, we might get threatened, we might get angry without knowing the name. But once we know the name and once we can attribute or distinguish them from each other, in fact, we have experienced affect and feeling. So feeling is more contractual comparing to emotions. And emotion regulation is that a child be able to first detect the situation, detect his tendency or avoidance about some emotional situation, knowing that what part of the atmosphere of some environment is not of his favorite, or what part of the atmosphere of the environment is very enjoyable and pleasurable to him, and then deciding to avoid or have tendency or moving toward that. So, emotion regulation is about knowing our feelings, naming them, detecting our own place at that, and then the strategies to regain the balance in our emotion. We should know that we are surrounded by plenty of negative and positive natural emotions, that we do need all of them. And I do recommend all of you to watch the wonderful animation of Inside Out to get to know the emotions and feelings, how beautifully it is described in an animation. But the children or the people who are not good at emotion regulation, they might suffer from um, any issues in the relationship, making friend, establishing a friendship and holding the friendship, managing the friendship, not letting others bully them and not bullying others. And also, these people might throw tantrum, might feel easily frustrated, might not be able to explain their feeling specifically if their feeling are hard to describe. For example, a child who is whose language is enough to explain, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, but his language is not well ready to explain what part of the teacher's behavior seemed unfair to him. So the child might burst into tears, might throw tantrum without being able to describe why I felt unfairness. So some feeling of unfairness has made us sad, depressed, angry, or raise up some anger or rage in us. But without knowing that feeling, we might feel we are losing our control. We are losing our self-control, yeah? And then we might throw tantrum or meltdown, nervous breakdown or meltdown. And the other terms that are interchangeably used when children are out of zones of regulation. So the most useful strategies at school for zones of regulation are like kind of attributing our feeling to the color code. So if I'm angry, color code of red, and if I'm completely calm, color code of green or blue, and if I'm about to become angry, my color code is yellow, and at that point, it's better for me to have a deep breath. So we just invite the child to be mindful about their body and the manifestation of the body symptoms like rapid breathing or feeling of heat in our face, or as if we are about to kick or hit others. And once we detect these phenomena or manifestation in our body, then we might decide to attribute our feeling or emotion to a specific zone of regulation. Okay, now I am yellow. So what are allowed and what are not allowed in the zone yellow? Okay, I am not allowed to play socially aligned with others. I need to request for a kind of break. I need to go and get a seat. I need to calmly breathe in and out, and then do some solitary play like sand play or some scissor work or some safe activity that I love to do, and it can help me get back to the safe zone. Once I feel that, yes, I could manage it. Now my feeling has gotten back to the main track. Now I will have access to the vocabularies that have been locked when I have become angry. And now I can reach out to some person as a support to share my feeling with and seek out for some strategies for future. So it is the third stage, emotion regulation, that is very important to receive appropriate coaching and instruction from some psychotherapists or some experienced occupational therapists who have experience in field of mental health thing as well, and also receiving some even parenting from some psychotherapists in order to get ready to involve ourselves in the children's puzzles of life adequately. Never, neither too much nor too little. So, I just want to put a pause at this point and want to briefly talk about the responsibilities of parents versus those of children. And it is very important. We all know that almost every newborn baby might have a struggle with self-regulation. Almost all newborn baby experience hunger and thirst, and it is highly advised that the parents, upon hearing the sound of crying in children, just give a little hesitation, about 5 or 6 or 10 seconds, then addressing the needs. And speaking about that needs as well, that, aha, she is hungry. Aha, she is thirsty. Aha, you've been hungry. I got it. And then addressing that needs. Do not immediately and instantly provide that support. And once you feel that your child has reached to the stage that can speak about his needs or feeling, you should not react or address the needs when the child is behaving immaturely and solely bursting into tears or kicking or hitting or stuff like that. Because even though you as parent have detected the reason of those kick and hit and yell and shout and crying for sure have been hunger, but you should not address hunger when you see immature behavior, because the responsibility of the children in order to regulate themselves or having some appropriate movement towards self-regulation is that, okay, now that you are well equipped with the toolkits about communication skills, and you can talk about your feeling, you can mention that I'm hungry, you have enough wording to ask me for food, or you can point out to the fridge to remind me that you are hungry. I no longer am going to understand you or acknowledge you or address your needs when you just kick me or yell at me. Yes, in a bracket, we all know that parents identify the needs of children even, even before children's tantrum. But it's very important that we just let the responsibility of children be well equivalent and fit with their abilities and skill. Once a child is able to express his needs and feeling, from that point on, we are not going to address the needs immediately as if we used to address it when my child wasn't able to communicate his needs. So it's very important about how active mom, how active, over-caring, and over-supportive and proactive mom or dad might train or raise children who are more dependent to them. In fact, these children have realized that if I stay passive, I have a higher chance of getting fulfilled by my mom's or dad's favor and love and being pampered by their love and attention, so I can stay out of responsibility. I can stay uh, no, I can stay somehow far from making decision, and the rest of the thing is within the responsibility of mom or dad to detect my feeling. Just imagine that a child at the age of 2 who is recently accepting to eat pure food, if someday doesn't eat potato puree but tried rice puree, mom with lots of patience accept this change of taste or flavors and then switch from potato puree to rice puree or pudding or different other stuff. But once that child raised and grows up to the age of 4, if mom serves the food and the child just kick under the bowl of food and cried, mom is not about to change the food solely because of this behavior. And at the age of 6 or 7, if a child said, oh, I don't want zeresh polo because I hate zeresh inside it. So the child himself is responsible to remove all those zeresh out of the rice and be responsible about the portion of food, the size of food he can take in, and the rest of the stuff. So it's about the balance between responsibilities of parents and children. And if sometimes parents might feel that we will be allowed to get far and gradually decrease our responsibility once we see that the child has tendency to take over. But surprisingly, it's better that the parents be initiative at decreasing the responsibility, and this is a kind of natural signal to children that now it is their turn to naturally start growing up. So if a child has been pampered and surrounded by lots of favor and support, they might have minimum tendency or motivation for taking over the responsibility and accepting all the responsibilities, because every person wants to stay in the comfort zone and do not want to, and no one wants to get out of the comfort zone toward the exploration and, let's say, responsibilities or effort. So all of us have imagined the kind of heaven of effortless life, and now we know it. So let's getting back to the zones of regulation and emotional regulation. It's very important that once you are about to be the positive listener or active listener to our children, we should not complete their sentences. When they are talking, they need time, they need to take their own time to talk about their feeling. We should not, and we are not about to interpret their feeling. They are about to have time to talk about their feeling We are not about to judge their feeling. We are not about to utilize every single moment of their communication as a kind of educational and consultation-based approach in order to teach something new to the child or try the child to see the world a better place to live. Um, so we need to sometimes be a little passive, a little lazy, a little um, uh, uninformed or not knowledgeable people so that our parents learn how to stand on their own feet in case of understanding the emotion, expressing the emotional regulation needs, and this stuff. And once a child gets to this stage, if the language and cognition will all be in a parallel way have developed well, then we can expect the child better performance in executive function. For executive function, we are going to expect the child independence in everyday life skill, like kind of just being responsible about managing the task, organizing the start and task, and planning every single step of making a salad or doing a house chore or helping mom in laundries or doing some basic procedure of taking a bath independently or getting ready to go to school. And no, it's just a sentence, getting ready to go to school. But in fact, that sentence, upon being broken down to the steps of contribution, the contributing steps of this process, maybe it's about 8, 9 steps that the child is about to plan ahead about each one, and then organizing his behavior and monitoring his performance and making sure that he is on the right trace and track. So you see self-directional behavior at the pinnacle of the pyramid of self-control. Again, I remind you about the very, very basic level, sympathetic, parasympathetic, then self-regulation, then emotional regulation, then self-directional behavior and executive function. And at this stage, we can stay hopeful that these children that have been very well equipped with the self-directional behavior will have a healthy and successful life and will experience the balanced version of emotions, solutions, and strategies, and also good performance in their social life and academic life. So this my lecture about the steps of development in children and how these words or terminology should be used with caution. I have noticed that most of the time, maybe people use self-regulation and emotional regulation interchangeably. And on the other hand, I realized that most of the time, even the parents might feel that I'm confused. I don't know what to do with my child. What is the next step? How can I address my child needs? And sometimes even they might get confused because once they keep bringing their children to the clinic, they feel that, oh, pastor has changed his words. 6 months ago, he said that it's not allowed to do this thing for your child. And right now, after 6 months, he is encouraging us to do the exact thing that he has refrained us from doing that. Yes, it's the exact meaning of development, that the children need abilities, talent, skills, potential have changed over the time. And now many of the advice or recommendation that have been harmful 6 months ago, now it is beneficial or even necessary to be done. So it's very important to know that development is a dynamic process. And we, as the people who are about to watch our children's development trace, we need to be well aware about this step and how we can facilitate it, and how we can stay a little far from the development pathway and trust the nature in order to show that we trust our children and we believe them that you will find your way. So it's my lecture about that. I have nothing else to say today. It's 7:18. If any one of you have a question, please do not hesitate to ask. And I'll be more than happy to respond to it. Thank you very much. I'll stop recording right now, and then if you have questions, please feel free to ask.